The first recording starts with the crunch of tires on a gravel road. My voice, annoyingly upbeat for the podcast intro, fills the car's interior. Day one, folks. This is Ethan Carter, and I am officially on the final stretch to the one and only Blackwood Manor. For the next 7 days, this will be my home, my studio, and my personal laboratory. The mission is simple: to prove that the only spirits in this house are the ones I brought with me in a flask. I chuckle, but the sound dies quickly in the oppressive Texas heat. Outside, the landscape is a flat, endless expanse of dry fields and lonely oak trees draped in Spanish moss, looking like skeletal sentinels. It's the kind of place where you could scream and only the buzzards would hear you. The house appears abruptly. A 2-story Victorian relic, rising from the parched earth like a rotten tooth. Its paint is peeling, its windows are dark, vacant eyes, and a single dead tree stands in the front yard, its branches clawing at the sky. It's a caricature of a haunted house, and I can't help but smile. Perfect for the camera. The realtor, a nervous man named Mr. Abernathy, is waiting on the porch. He hands me a heavy, ornate iron key without making eye contact. "Everything's in order, Mr. Carter," he says, his gaze fixed on his dusty boots. "Water and power are on. The generator's out back if the power fails. It does that sometimes." "Any other friendly advice?" I ask, my microphone already recording his unease. He finally looks up, his eyes wide. "Don't go in the basement. The previous owner sealed it for a reason. Just don't." He practically runs to his car, kicking up a cloud of dust as he speeds away, leaving me alone in the suffocating silence. The silence is the first thing that truly gets to you. It's not just quiet, it's a heavy, expectant void. The air inside the house is thick with the smell of dust and decay, a sweet, cloying scent like old potpourri. The front door groans shut behind me, the sound echoing through the cavernous foyer. A grand staircase, its wood dark and imposing, spirals up into the shadows of the second floor. I spend the next few hours setting up my equipment, cameras in the living room, the master bedroom, the kitchen, and one pointed directly down the long, dark hallway upstairs. My base of operations is the dining room, where a massive oak table is now covered in laptops, microphones, and a week's worth of protein bars. As dusk settles, painting the sky in shades of bruised purple and orange, I do a final check. Everything is recording. I sit back at the table, crack open a beer, and speak into my main microphone. All right, night one. The house is quiet. The only spooky thing so far is the realtor's haircut. I'll be doing my first sweep in an hour. Stay tuned, truth seekers. It's going to be a very, very boring night. The recording continues for another 10 minutes, filled with nothing but the sound of my own breathing and the distant hum of the refrigerator. Then, right before I switch it off, another sound is captured. It's faint, barely audible, coming from the floor above me. A soft, rhythmic creaking, like a rocking chair moving back and forth in an empty room. For a full minute, I don't move. I just listen. The creaking stops as suddenly as it began, leaving the oppressive silence to rush back in. My heart is hammering against my ribs, an involuntary, primitive reaction. I force a laugh, the sound unnaturally loud in the stillness. "Okay, first potential anomaly," I announce to the microphone, my voice a little too steady to be genuine. Could be anything. Old houses settle, a draft, a rat, probably a rat. Let's go meet our new roommate, shall we? Grabbing my high-powered flashlight and a handheld camera, I start my first official sweep. The beam from the flashlight cuts a sharp white cone through the darkness, making the shadows dance and retreat. The living room, is a graveyard of furniture draped in white sheets, looking like a gathering of silent, patient ghosts. The kitchen is cold, with a single tap dripping a slow, maddening rhythm into the sink. Nothing out of place. I stand at the bottom of the grand staircase, the flashlight beam aimed at the top. The darkness up there feels thicker, heavier. "Going upstairs now," I narrate, my voice dropping to a whisper. The sound came from the end of the hall, the master bedroom, according to Mr. Abernathy's floor plan. Each step on the staircase groans under my weight, the sound echoing my own internal tension. The air grows colder as I ascend. By the time I reach the top, I can almost see my breath. The camera I set up in the hall is blinking its little red light, a faithful, unblinking eye. I give it a nod and proceed down the hallway. The door to the master bedroom is slightly ajar. I push it open. The room is large and empty, save for a single decrepit wooden rocking chair sitting in the middle of the floor, directly under the moonlight filtering through the grimy window. It's perfectly still. I walk a slow circle around it, camera rolling, flashlight beam inspecting every inch. There are no drafts, no open windows, no rats. Just the chair, sitting there with an air of quiet defiance. I reach out and touch it. The wood is ice cold. "Well, there you have it, folks," I say into my camera's microphone. The culprit, a very old, very creepy chair. The sound was probably just the wood contracting in the cold. Case closed. I turn to leave, feeling a bit foolish. But as I step back into the hallway, a floorboard behind me groans as if someone just shifted their weight. I spin around. The room is empty. The chair is motionless. My heart is pounding again, harder this time. I back out of the room slowly, pulling the door shut. As the latch clicks into place, a new sound is captured by my recorder. It's not a creak. It's not a groan. It's a whisper. A dry, sibilant sound, so faint I almost miss it. It sounds like one word, breathed directly into the microphone's sensor. Get out. I didn't run. I walked. A very fast, very deliberate walk back down the grand staircase and into the relative safety of my brightly lit dining room. I slammed the door to the hallway behind me, the sound booming through the house. My hands were shaking. "Okay," I said, my voice hoarse. I cleared my throat and started a new audio log. "Okay, let's be rational. What did I just hear?" I sat down at the table, my back to the wall, facing the only two exits from the room. I rewound the footage from my handheld camera, my headphones clamped tight over my ears. I listened to the clip 3 times, 4 times. It was there. Faint, staticky, but undeniably there. A voice. "This is classic auditory pareidolia," I dictated, trying to convince myself as much as my future audience. "It's when the brain interprets random noise as a familiar pattern, like a voice. It's the audio equivalent of seeing a face in the clouds. I was on edge, in a creepy house, and my mind filled in the blanks. It's static. It has to be." I spent the next hour running the audio file through analysis software, boosting the gain, trying to isolate the frequency. The waveform was strange, a sharp, unnatural spike in the ambient noise, but it proved nothing. It could have been anything, a feedback loop, a stray radio signal. I checked the other cameras. Nothing. The hallway cam showed me exiting the room, spinning around, and then backing away, my face pale in the infrared light. But it showed nothing else. No movement, no shadows. Defeated and on edge, I decided to try and get some sleep. The master bedroom was out of the question. I dragged a dusty mattress from one of the other rooms and threw it on the floor of my dining room command center, surrounded by the comforting glow of my laptop screens. Sleep wouldn't come. Every creak of the old house was magnified. The drip from the kitchen sink sounded like footsteps. The wind rattling a window frame sounded like claws scratching at the glass. I lay there for hours, staring at the ceiling, my flashlight clutched in my hand like a child's security blanket. It was just after 3 a.m. when it happened. A loud, violent crash echoed from the floor above. It wasn't a creak or a whisper. It was the unmistakable sound of splintering wood. My blood ran cold. I sat bolt upright, my heart threatening to burst from my chest. I grabbed my camera and flicked on the monitor that showed the live feed from the upstairs hallway. The camera was pointed at the master bedroom door, the one I had firmly shut hours ago. It was now wide open. And the rocking chair, which had been in the center of the room, was gone. All that remained in its place were jagged, splintered pieces of wood, scattered across the floor as if the chair had spontaneously exploded. The image on the screen was undeniable. There was no rational explanation for it. A chair doesn't just spontaneously combust. A locked door doesn't just fly open. For a moment, my brain simply refused to process it. I considered the alternatives. A prank. A trespasser. But who? How? I was miles from anywhere, and the only key was in my pocket. A new feeling washed over me, eclipsing the fear. A jolt of raw, journalistic adrenaline. This was it. This was the story. My skepticism, my carefully constructed wall of logic, crumbled into dust. "I have to go up there," I whispered. The words intended for myself, but the microphone picked them up anyway. I grabbed the heaviest thing I could find, a solid steel tripod, and held it like a baseball bat. My flashlight beam trembled as I pushed open the dining room door and stepped back into the oppressive darkness of the foyer. The house was silent again, but it was a different kind of silence now. It felt predatory. The ascent up the stairs was the longest walk of my life. I didn't bother narrating for the camera this time. I just let the audio record my ragged breathing and the thumping of my own heart. Every shadow seemed to writhe in the corner of my vision. The master bedroom door hung crookedly on one hinge. I nudged it with the tripod, and it swung inward with a mournful creak. The scene was exactly as the camera had shown, but so much worse in person. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and freshly broken wood. Splinters and jagged pieces of the rocking chair littered the floor like shrapnel. The force required to do this was immense. No person could have done it this quickly, this silently. I stepped into the room, my boots crunching on the debris. My flashlight beam swept across the wreckage, and that's when I saw it. In the very center of the destruction, lying pristine on the dusty floorboards as if carefully placed there, was a small silver locket. It was tarnished with age, shaped like a heart, with delicate floral engravings on its surface. It hadn't been there before. I knew it. I had circled that chair, examined every inch of the floor around it. My hand trembled as I reached down and picked it up. It was cold, unnaturally so, and felt heavy in my palm. The clasp was stiff, but I managed to pry it open. Inside were two tiny, faded photographs. On one side, a stern-looking man with a thick mustache. On the other, a young woman with sad eyes, holding a baby. The Blackwood family. The sound was deafening. I spun around. The bedroom door had slammed shut. I lunged for it, dropping the locket, my heart seizing with panic. I twisted the old brass knob. It wouldn't turn. It was locked. No, not locked. It felt held, as if 100 hands were pushing against it from the other side. The temperature in the room plummeted. The visible puff of my breath in the flashlight beam was no longer a novelty. It was a sign of a hostile presence. A low growl seemed to vibrate through the very floorboards beneath my feet. I was trapped. Trapped in the room where the chair had been annihilated, with the ghosts of the family it once belonged to. Then I heard the new sound. It wasn't a whisper this time. It was the sound of a little girl humming a nursery rhyme somewhere in the darkness right behind me.